marketing is one of the most complex and fastest changing, fastest growing facets of the trading industry, perhaps second only to regulations. So beyond the regulators, this year we saw tech giants like Google, Facebook, Baidu moving to quasi-regulate the industry. We saw GDPR kicking in that imposed enormous costs and headache for the industry, for the brokers, for the crypto exchanges, and so on. So what we want to do in this panel, basically, we want to talk about all those changes, to see how they influence the industry, to see how they influence the marketing practices, the marketing efforts, and basically to hear maybe perhaps some numbers, some figures about the changes in the industry and what we are looking to see in 2019. So without further ado, I will allow you to introduce yourselves. Benjamin, please.
Sure. Hello. So I'm Benjamin. So I'm coming from Cisco Asia. So I'm the CEO of this of our Asian entities in Asia. So just a little bit introduction. So referring to what Michael just said. So marketing is very complicated stuff, especially for us as a European-based company. So we need to have something really local to feed back to our headquarters, and this is something what the functions, one of the functions of our company. So, but maybe we could talk more a little bit later. So I pass it on. Sorry.
Hi guys, my name is John Lewis, and I'm CMO of Token Target, which is a full-service blockchain, crypto, and ICO marketing agency. And over the course of 2018, we helped over 45 ICOs raise over $650 million. So anything related to crypto, I'll be able to give input on that side. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ori Matarasso. I'm the CMO of Avatrade, a well-known brand, I assume, around the globe.
I'm Frankie. I'm the okay. I work for Baidu International Advertising Unit. I've been in the digital marketing industry for 15 years. Hopefully today I can share, give you guys some insight how to implement a successful local marketing campaign in China.
Great. So as you can see, we have two executives from Brokerages, and we have two marketing specialists. So it's going to be quite diverse and interesting. So let's start with a question for everyone. So following up on the moves by the tech giants and also the GDPR regulations and restrictions, how do you think that influenced the industry in terms of costs, acquisitions? How did it influence the marketing practices? Please.
Yeah, so I would say that it makes the market more uncertain. So for us, especially we are in Asia, so we have we spend a lot through Baidu to market our region. But I mean, this kind of changes, especially in the last year, it makes the market is more uncertain. And by uncertain, I meant that from a company perspective, we are more cautious on our spending. And especially, say, the regulatory changes, say what you just mentioned about Google or Facebook, it makes us, unless we got a license in those jurisdictions, otherwise we cannot be, going through to market in those countries. I would say that, again, it makes the whole thing, the expenses become higher and higher. And this is what I'm expecting for this year. The marketing expenses, especially in the online channel, will be even higher than 2018. So maybe Kemi can have your view about what Baidu is helping us anyway.
So I think, yeah, from the, the same thing happened with crypto. We obviously experienced first blocks from Facebook and then Google. So it seems like, those big brands are also taking an approach to try and self-regulate industries that they're not so sure of, how they're progressing. So we saw, obviously, in the end of 2018, to the peak of Bitcoin price, the cost to acquire investors for crypto was, at its lowest rate ever. Everybody wanted to get in. And then, obviously, that started to downplay. And it's going to be a lot tougher, and we're seeing a lot less ICOs and crypto companies come to play, but we are seeing a lot more legitimate ones because there were a lot of bad actors and a lot of bad players. So I think when a lot of these ads are saying things that they shouldn't be, obviously that's, I think, what's pushing these brands that have a lot, on their side to protect. So I think we have to try and also self-regulate and do due diligence on the clients that we choose to work with as agencies. I mean, obviously it's different for regulated brokers, but this is how we try and play a small part, which is not actually working with companies that we feel are some way going to do, be a bad actor and not help contribute to, good things for the crypto and blockchain space.
I can say that from our angle, when we look at it, when we look at Google and Facebook, obviously it's a couple of the major, and Baidu of course as well, some of the major technologies or the major channels that we will be acquiring traffic and looking to find new traders. I believe that what happened both with Facebook and Google is that they understood what's going to happen in ESMA. And the Googles in Europe, I can say, were actually saying, okay, we're going to be even more strict than ESMA in many cases, than the regulator in Europe. And they've decided that they're going to, first of all, kill almost everything that is related to Forex, crypto, and other stuff, just like Facebook did. For us, as a very regulated brand, and we are currently regulated in more than 6 regions and planning by the end of 2019 to actually be regulated in about 10 different regions. And I believe it's a matter of trust for our traders. And I believe that if we are able to be as much regulated as we can be, I think that all these changes in GDPR, Google, Facebook, whatever is happening is actually working for us. It's actually benefiting our marketing efforts and allowing us actually to do more marketing, because we as a regulated regulated brand have no issues almost to advertise with Google and the big technologies and media companies. So as much as it might be problematic to some brands, I think for a brand at the size of Ava, which is again a very regulated and with more than 15 branches around the globe, I think it only works for the best of our interest. And I will be more than happy to hear what's happening in Baidu, so we can understand exactly what's happening there.
Just to refocus the question for you, Frankie, we would like to know more about what were the moves, for the sake of the audience that perhaps is not very familiar with the moves that you made from your side. We reported extensively on the moves from Facebook and Google, but if you can mention some of the moves that you made with regards to the financial industry, perhaps some restrictions or some practices, some special practices that you have for this industry. Also, if you can mention GDPR and how did it influence you, if any, please.
Okay, I think to put in a simple way, I think you guys know understand the recent changes to forex players or even crypto players when they wanted to advertise in Google and Facebook. Similar what you see here or in Europe, in China, the China government also put stricter control. Even you got some of the valid license, so that's why even all the platform requires like special approval. Even I already got tons of marketing budget here, but you need to go through the special approval. But I think before add on, there's one thing we need to pay attention is I would say advertising laws in China is quite unique. In a way is even like you advertise anything in Google, they will let you to get online. They will just randomly check using machines to have post-avatar review. But in China, it never be the case. Not just Baidu, all the BAT, they require you to get peer approval. At that moment, they will validate whether you got relevant license, where your website are relevant, where you are passing the right message, which is legally consistent. So that's one thing. So even you have budget, you don't have so strict regulations in China, in Baidu, in BAT, you need to go through the first time like 4 to 6 week process. So that's one big difference here. Okay, that's one thing. Another thing is I agree with what you guys said. Yes, I would say this year, the industry for financial players are much more complicated. The reason is you got stricter control. And then you got more and more limitations. That's also enough with what you guys said, oh, the CPA, the cost per acquisition will become higher and higher. So I find there is a common tendency. It's most of the financial companies, they try to set up their own DMP or digital marketing platform. They try to execute their loyalty program because they know that the cost of acquiring new customers is much higher than before. So why not they try to stimulate the existing customer? Why don't we have more transactions? We increase the ARPU, so the average transaction value can increase. So I think this is a trend. Of course, being the leading internet platform, we will try to assist every player how to execute their marketing objective. But that's something we need to face and need to handle it. Yeah.
So Ori, let's dive in a little bit into the other jurisdictions. Of course, China, but beyond China, let's talk about Southeast Asia and perhaps even Australia. Can you give us some pointers about the unique features of marketing practices, marketing costs, perhaps the changes in the recent year with regards to those jurisdictions, Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, Philippines, and so on?
Yeah, well, I would say that basically for us, we know the restrictions right now with acquiring media and running PPC campaigns in some of the big technology media sources such as Facebook and Google. So we've been in the past few years, especially in 2018, mainly focusing on things that are more related to affiliation and IBs. And this is why we've actually in a month from now, maybe less than that, a couple of weeks from now, we'll be launching our new very own Ava Partner 2.0, which is actually a technology-based platform, something that we've developed in-house that will actually allow each and every affiliate to actually come up with his own, a lot of flexibility in the deals that we can close with affiliates, and I believe that it's going to be something that will facilitate exactly our partners and will allow them to work with us much more. Having said that, basically again, we do have a license in Australia. We're looking at Hong Kong and maybe even Singapore in the coming months to see if we can get regulated there. But at the end of the day, when you work mainly with IBs and mainly with affiliates, so like the CPA may rise, and in many cases you're not just depending on the like the volatility of the market and trying to get the best CPC and optimizing your campaigns, and in some cases where like we really need to negotiate well with the affiliates, and it's a different ballgame than doing it online in terms of Baidu with all the regulations, all the restrictions in Baidu and in Google and Facebook, which are in many cases don't even allow us to run. Not because even though we are regulated, there are some still big issues. And by the way, speaking with the Google guys themselves, they still have some internal issues that doesn't allow them, in some cases, even if we're trying to run on our brand term, which shouldn't be an issue at all, still we will get some issues because internally they still have some issue with what they call the FSP, the financial service, and basically they have some issues there that they are still not fully clear about how they're going to tackle this whole thing, and it obviously at the end of the day affect our ROI and our ability to actually advertise in these platforms.
Sure. So Benjamin, basically same question. Can you point out to the differences between the different jurisdictions, between the different countries in terms of marketing practices and so on?
Well, I mean, say for Swissquote Bank, we're based in Switzerland. So from a European perspective, they feel comfortable to advertise online or do the marketing online or purely online. So, I mean, back to like 4 or 5 years ago, we start thinking, we also have the online campaign, but I mean, for me personally, I prefer going to something offline, to be honest. Because from our culture, I mean, from the Chinese culture, we prefer more tangible. So that's why we have, I mean, in terms of our marketing budget, I would say for Hong Kong office, for our Swissco Hong Kong office, maybe 40% of our marketing expenses is using online, and the rest of the 60% go offline. Because for the offline marketing, say for seminars, say for Expo, I think same as Alpha Trade, we went to a lot of expos together as well. So we can see the people, we can meet the people, especially for the Chinese people. Yeah, they are, right now they get used to the online channel, but the thing is when they are, say they want to invest something, I'm not saying big amount, but I would say maybe 10,000, say for example, they want to see if this company is real. Okay, we can see a lot of comments, information about this company online, but they didn't see you at all. That's why we think that, or I personally think that if we are talking about our marketing strategy, I will say that from my perspective, offline is one thing that we cannot miss in our culture. And this is something, from my perspective, or my job is to educate or to inform my headquarters that this is something in Hong Kong or in Asia, especially China, that what we have to do. And I mean, from now on, we have seen that, as I said, 40% budget we go online, and then, but I will say that we are not going to change too much in this year. We'll keep about 60-40 the split. But I would say unless, say for example for Baidu, if the policy or the structure is not changed, say this year or next year, maybe I would say that the split going to offline maybe increase from 60 to 70 in maybe in the next year. So I mean, if your question was like the major differences between the marketing strategy between European style and Asian style, I would say that Asian style we prefer more offline, tangible stuff. Yeah.
So Frankie, I'm sure that we have quite a few people in the audience here who represent some European or perhaps Australian-based brands, and they're thinking of going into the Chinese market. And they would like to hear a little bit about the best practices in terms of marketing, or not only marketing. Can you give them some tips, some advices about how to to plan their strategy for entering China?
Okay. Firstly, I think I'm more from like online industry. Maybe I share what I know about that. I think for most of the European companies, they were simple because like the digital budget, I think most of them, they already go to Google and Facebook. So key to them is how to manage or execute a successful campaign on these two platforms, because it may occupy 80% of their budget. That's already, so very simple. You focus like 1820, you focus on these two platforms, you can make a success over there, right? In China, it's quite different. I would say in the internet world, it's quite fragmented. I think you guys know about BAT, right? Everyone knows about this. So, but in recent years, in China internet, we have TMD as well. And even when we talk about the mobile apps, there are thousands and thousands and millions of mobile apps. So I think every even small app can bring you a lot of traffic. But I think the importance is you never can ask your boss, you give me unlimited budget, I have so many new platform, new stuff I want to try. So I think the key point is no matter what you advertise, what you do on the platform, you need to keep your data. You need to have your own data mining tools. You need to have your own CRM, or even as simple as just a spreadsheet. At least you know what you're doing. Even you advertise, you don't make a success on the first place. You know why you fail. Like I got a no CTR compared with others. I know I got a no conversion rate, and what's the difference? Of course, one thing you need to pay attention is for those who are still very new to China market, you need to pay attention because I would say internet is too advanced in China, or even China is going the fastest country in the world in terms of internet. Even you go over the hotel in China, all the way you need not bring along your wallet. You just need to bring along your phone. Of course, you need to enable your WeChat or from Tencent is ready. So I would say if you are new at least you need to get prepared and have the approach is trial and error. Because very simple, some of the forex players are heavily rely on IB. Maybe their marketing mix will be quite different from those who focus on direct. But all the way, you need to have the try and error and test something new. So you have this kind of attitude. Otherwise, you can't make a success. For those things you find it's good ROI, keep on doing that. And then every time you need to try some new stuff. Of course, back to basic, you need to keep your own data and have your DMP. Because this is a long-term thing, you need not kind of any IB. You can also control the quality of the transaction as well as your clients. So that's very important because your clients are your assets. So that's what I will see. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So John, this was quite a complex year for both crypto and the forex industries in terms of quite a few regulatory problems and some scams that were uncovered and hacks and a lot of different issues, so to speak. How do you think that affected the public image of those companies? And maybe you can share something about your clients. How do you deal with such crises and how do you manage them?
Yeah, so good question. Not so easy to answer, but I'll do my best. So, I mean, we work with a range of clients in many different sectors. Obviously, when the price of Bitcoin just started to obviously, have that rise, we started to see so many leads come through the system in terms of people that wanted to set up, some type of idea on the blockchain. And a lot of people didn't even understand what blockchain was, what distributed technology ledger was, and the real important elements of the technology. They just wanted to get into the hype, right? So a lot of what we were doing is trying to, do due diligence and help the ones that we actually thought could be legitimate. But even the ones that you think are legitimate, along the way when they're building their product or making promises, what we started to see is that those promises were not being met in all the cases. And I think the public image of not only the rise of Bitcoin, but obviously now the decline of Bitcoin, and not only Bitcoin, but all the cryptocurrencies, it's obviously had this effect where a lot of the people that were just in it for the quick money are kind of out now. And what we're seeing is a lot more legitimate companies coming in for the more long-term vision and real companies that want to actually do something to change the world for the better utilizing this technology, as opposed to just trying to make a quick dollar from an investor. So obviously, we were quite heavily involved. So we started seeing Facebook block all of our clients' accounts. They were attacking, and calling us, panicking because they were generating a lot of business there. The same thing when Google made the announcement. So as Frankie said, we started to look for different routes. One of the routes we went to was creating an affiliate platform for the actual ICO sector. So they could actually pay a percentage of the Ether transactions back to affiliates. And also we started to utilize third-party DMP platforms and DSP platforms that weren't Google, because obviously there's a lot of activity that you can do there. But I think the industry as a whole now has two negative stigmas. One is a lot of the scams that went on, and obviously bad news travels a lot faster than good news. So a lot of the good things that are happening, nobody really talks about it, like what's going on with EOS, and there's a lot of cool stuff going on with the dApps, and I have a lot of people that I know and myself that are making interest off dividends from EOS. But a lot of people just tend to think, oh, it's crypto, it's a scam, and that's something that transcended into a lot of what I believe is the panic and people exiting with Bitcoin, and obviously the people that
FUD.
Yeah. So and then
John, I'll have to cut you
no
here
problem.
because I have a quick question for Frankie, if John allows me.
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
So, Frankie, I'm just curious. There's a lot of criticism towards Facebook and Google about their client service, so to speak, for marketers. We often hear that it's quite problematic to contact them. If you have any problems, you get blocked, you get your ad removed. So try to answer as non-biased as possible. How does it work with Baidu for the sake of the people that are not familiar with that?
First of all, for the CAN servicing, no worry. I think we have office throughout the world. So even for some of the Europe players, we have an office in London. So if you need any support, I can assign anybody to help you guys. Of course, if anyone who really facing some supporting issues, I have many good friends, personal network. So come to me, I give you some of the passwords so that you can have direct access to those guys like from Google, hopefully can help, right? But I think one thing, in China, the situation is also worse. Because good thing is, somehow if you even have chance to go to China, actually Google or Facebook, usually you can't access over there. So there's no issue there because they even have limited presence over there. So that's why, even when I check in the Shanghai hotel, I can't access my Gmail as well. So that's why I think the internet ecosystem in China is quite unique compared others of the world. So that's something we need to pay attention to. So if you guys need some passwords, come to me, and then I try to connect my friend to you guys.
You will get a lot of calls after this session.
Because I'm too old in the industry, almost 15 to 20 years. Yeah, hopefully it can help. Most of my friends are actually located in APAC region, some holding some senior positions. So I hope this can help. But don't call for me, right?
Maybe I should get your call then.
Okay, so we want to open the floor for questions. Yeah?
Yeah, the floor is open for 45 minutes now, 30. So, first question is, if only established entities like AvaTrade can advertise on certain channels while startup or small firms can't, is that not anti-competitive? And digest this thought because the second question is quite similar. Google requires advertisers to get local license in their targeting country. So how Global Broker is able to penetrate Asia countries through digital marketing at the moment. So the two flips of the coin here are, is there entry barriers for new players / non-regulated players, and maybe it would be interesting to weigh in on what can be done.
Benjamin, perhaps you...
Yeah, so to answer this question, I would say, to be honest, if you go to, say, to Baidu to advertise Swissquote, and we submit the application, say, Swissquote Bank right now is going to advertise in Baidu or to open an account, I would say that maybe 99% we will get rejected. So this is something that how we play ourselves or how we position ourselves, say for application, or even you got the application, how you really manage the account. So I would say that instead of, when I was answering another question, I said, okay, for me, I don't want to have all my marketing budget on online channel. So we will do offline channel. So to answer this question also is, for offline channel, we do the seminar. We are not just in a seminar to ask people to open account. This is not the purpose. The purpose is kind of educating the people. So, say, going back to this question, if we are going to, say, advertise online in China, we are not really, we should be focusing more on education in order to get into this marketing channel. Otherwise, there's no way for you to get into this channel. Not sure if that's your case as well.
I would add to that, basically I agree, but I would add to this one major thing that we've done in the past year, and basically we're doing it in the next year as well, is that we are the global sponsors of Manchester City. Manchester City is a huge football team. I believe that in the offline, when you talk about offline activities, and as a global brand, I believe that it makes a lot of sense, and it's a major part of our strategy of penetrating APAC region, because we believe that basically it's obvious that football is something that everybody around the globe is most likely the most popular sports in the world, sharing the same values as a team like Manchester City, which is a winning team, one of the best teams in the world, fans all over the globe. allows us also to, when we're talking about partners and offline activity, allows us also to send some of our partners from wherever it is in the world to games in Manchester. I believe in order to penetrate such a specific region, I think our sponsorship with Manchester City is a major issue. I would add to this that basically I truly agree regarding online marketing, and generally speaking, we haven't talked about it much, but you know that the mobile apps and generally speaking mobile marketing, Google and Facebook I believe is not a mobile first like Twitter, but Facebook right now is something like 80-85% of the traffic is mobile. So if you don't have a strong mobile app, you're in a big problem. Same goes for Google. Even if the traffic wouldn't have necessarily come only for mobile, but we're talking about 65, 70, maybe more than that of the traffic that is coming from mobile. So you really need to have a very strong mobile app. We've been looking at it in two different ways in a way. Basically for the more professional traders, we're using our new Ava option app. Steven is here in the crowd, and he's, if you guys want to hear more about it, you're more than welcome to talk to Steven. Basically, Ava option is a very professional, it's more into the professional traders. And we have the Ava Trade Go, which is our mobile app that basically in the next, again, couple of couple of weeks, we're going to be relaunch a new version, a very advanced version. I believe this is part of what you need to do in order to penetrate such a market, because without it, it's going to be very hard.
Thank you.